What's up, YouTube? This is Fate coming to you today with a brand new segment, and let me first address the first question that people who are used to my channel already have on their minds. What the hell is this? Well, for anybody that I've personally talked to, or anybody who's actually read my channel description a little bit, just as much as I like Yu-Gi-Oh!, I also like football. So I would like to kick off week 1 of Trading Card Game Player Tries to Predict Football. This is something that I will be doing weekly. I've listened to the predictions of the sportscasters on NFL Sunday, and I kind of wanted to see if I could beat them in the prediction game at all. Can an average Yu-Gi-Oh! Player, trading card player like me beat an expert NFL analyst? Will I win? Will I flop badly? Either way, it's going to be a long season, and it is going to be a fun and enjoyable one. So to kick things off, basically how I start things off is I get every NFL team into their proper matchups. Then I'll go over the matchup, briefly describing what I know on the average info, and then make the predictions accordingly. So without further ado, let's start with the predicting. And the first game of the season, we've got my Green Bay Packers versus the Seattle Seahawks right off the bat. Easily, in my mind, one of the toughest matchups and one of the toughest predictions to make right away in week 1. Although the Packers do have more depth improved in their offensive game this year, Seattle has also maintained the true core of their defense, and if not, improved a little bit on their offense. Now, before a couple weeks ago, I would have the edge for Green Bay in this game, but unfortunately, the injury to B.J. Raji right off the bat could cost the pressure game that they need against Seattle's O-line and the elusive Russell Wilson. So unfortunately, even though they're my favorite team, I have to kick Green Bay out for the loss week 1 and go with the Seattle Seahawks as the winner of that matchup. Now getting on to the more general Sunday games. First matchup of those, New Orleans Saints versus the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons are still going through their growing pains of having their issues from last season. And even though Drew Brees has been plagued with a little bit of injury this preseason, I see no doubts that he's going to come out strong against still recovering the Atlanta defense until they get into their own game throughout the season. So, New Orleans offense most likely going to make this one easy, predicting the win for the Saints. Next matchup, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Baltimore Ravens. And speaking of growing pains on defense, I would have to say Ravens have still a pretty good stout defense in my mind, but the Bengals, I would put them at about the same strength. Bengals do have the superior offense at the moment with Andy Dalton. I do believe in their game. Andy Dalton does have that ace wide receiver in A.J. Green, and they will put him to good use with their game with Giovanni Bernard right off the bat. I am predicting the win for the Bengals. Next up, we've got the Buffalo Bills versus the Chicago Bears. And I know Buffalo did make some really good pickups in this year's offseason, but wow, what an unfriendly team for them to face right off the bat. With Jay Cutler and the dual wide receiver threat of Marshall and Jeffrey, on top of that really tough defense that we all know from the Chicago Bears, on top of picking up Jared Allen. Although the Buffalo offense does look dramatically improved from last season, we will not get to see it right away in this game. They will be held to a pretty low amount of points by the Bears defense, and then the Bears will just do their thing. So, victory for the Bears, week 1. On to the second row. We've got the Houston Texans versus the Washington Redskins. Granted, we all saw the Jadeveon Clowney pickup in the draft. We all know that the Texans' defense is a lot stronger than the Redskins' defense. However, there are some major, major questions on offense, primarily with the QB situation. I just do not know how to gauge him right now. Even with the preseason games, they look to a little flat on the passing game at the moment. And Andre Johnson is not liking his team at the moment, which could affect the team's morale easily week one. And speaking of morale, the Redskins, they just picked up a good slew of wide receivers. RG3 is looking healthy and ready to bounce back after a struggling sophomore season. I believe it'll be by 10 points. Redskins will pick up the win. Next matchup, Tennessee Titans versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's just make this easy. Superior offense, superior defense, both on Kansas City side. Tennessee has an unknown running back trying out for the first game. They're going to be going through the initial growing pains, so I'll just make this one easy. Kansas City, this should be a pretty good pickup win for themselves. Next matchup, Patriots versus Dolphins. Dolphins have been getting better over the years, but we all know what happens when Tom Brady has a healthy team to work around right away week one, so I'll make that one easy as well. Patriots over the Dolphins. For the next matchup, Oakland Raiders versus the New York Jets. And this is another close one in my mind. Because, we've got some moving positions with the Raiders. They easily picked up the most off against most other teams in the offseason, free agents-wise. But at the same time, even though the Jets finished with a lower record last year, or a pretty low record, the Jets' defense is still a defense not to be underestimated. So while Oakland's working around with their new players, that Jets defense will have their first laugh of the year. It's going to take a week for them to figure out their new offense and the new pieces that they picked up. So the New York Jets, welcome to the 1-0 game. Next we have the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Philadelphia Eagles. All I have to say is, when you pick up a QB in the first round as a high draft pick, and you know that this guy is better than Chad Henne, why are you not starting Bortles over Henne week one? That's easily going to affect the offense right off the bat. And to make matters worse, the first team that you're up against, we've got Nick Foles, who put up Peyton Manning numbers when he took over the helm last season. And this is just a really bad, unfortunate matchup for Jacksonville. It's probably going to take them a couple weeks to put Bortles in and start getting wins. I have a feeling that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to rout Jacksonville week one. Eagles for the first win of the season. Next matchup, Steelers versus the Cleveland Browns. I do recognize that the Browns picked up a lot of bulk in the offseason as well, but Ben Roethlisberger is consistent with the receivers that he has left, especially the short game that he has with Heath Miller and the rest of them. Still not sure what's happening with the Le'Veon Bell, that whole running back issue with the marijuana possession, but the problem is for the Cleveland Browns is they're still playing, they're still going to be effective, and even if they're not playing, Steelers are usually known for carrying tough trio of running backs. Browns, it'll be a close game, but not quite enough. Steelers will pick up that win. Next matchup, Minnesota Vikings versus the St. Louis Rams. I heard all of the things about Sam Bradford, ACL torn, he's out for the year. Why is nobody still looking at the Rams defense? And I'm not talking about the whole Michael Sam thing with the preseason. I'm talking about the defense that still gave every single team problems last season. And the fact that they kept that together. Adrian Peterson's really good. Vikings will easily get a couple touchdowns with him. It'll be a close game, but the Rams defense will hold off the Vikings when it counts. Rams will pick up the win week 1. As for the next matchup, San Francisco 49ers versus the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to use the same formula that I used in the Kansas City game. San Francisco, superior defense. Cowboys do have a better passing offense, but as far as an all-round offense, San Francisco does still have a superior all-around offense. It'll be an easy win for San Francisco. Next matchup, we've got Carolina Panthers versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers also have a few new weapons that they would like to use in the first game of the season. And although the Panthers will be strong, will be playoff contenders as the season progresses, there are still going to be some lingering issues with Cam Newton and that rib injury. I do think it'll take a week for him to work around those until he gets comfortable with his game again. But against a hungry Tampa Bay offense, after laying down their fan base last season, they're going to be looking to start things right. They'll come out a lot stronger than Carolina's defense, and Carolina will not have the offense to support their defense this time around. So I'm picking Tampa Bay week 1. Next matchup, we've got the Broncos versus the Colts. Two pretty evenly matched teams. However, I do think the fireworks with the Denver Broncos will be on display first. They do have an increased defense even with their own critical injury. And Peyton Manning will just start off being the Peyton Manning that he usually shows off in week 1. Colts will be a much stronger team down the road once they get into their game. I do expect the Colts to make it to the playoffs later in the season. But for now, they're going to have to yield to a really bad matchup on their part. Denver Broncos, winners of week 1. Now for the two Monday night matchups in the New York Giants, Detroit Lions, and the Arizona Cardinals versus the San Diego Chargers. First matchup, Giants versus Lions. Giants still working out some issues on offense as well as defense. We all know Detroit has a really high-scoring offense. They will abuse Calvin Johnson. And I don't think in the long run, even with their own wide receiver in Nelson and Cruz, the Giants won't have enough answers. The Lions will put up way too many points for the Giants to handle. Detroit Lions, week 1. And then for the other matchup, the Arizona Cardinals versus the San Diego Chargers. The Cardinals is another tricky team because they also have another one of those heavy core defenses. However, we are starting to see vintage Phillip Rivers show up again. Antonio Gates is staying healthy. His wide receivers are staying healthy. Rivers is becoming a lot more accurate. The Cardinals will hold them down below 20, but I don't know. The Cardinals, I do also think Larry Fitzgerald will be an impact in this game. He'll have a couple touchdowns, but this will literally be final game of week 1. All the excitement. Final field goal before the game is done. Chargers will just barely have the edge. And I will look for the Cardinals to be stronger as the weeks progress. Well, thank you for enduring this long pickup line of my predictions and my first attempt at this for week 1 in the NFL. I will be continuing these videos on a weekly basis. And like I said, if I predict better than the analysts, so be it. If not, it's going to be a very fun season of all of you laughing at me for not knowing enough football. As always, thank you for watching, and also as always, comment, rate, and subscribe. Until next time.